in trouble, gets away. Mahomes racing with the bad ankle and all, inside the 20, and he's taken down. Somehow, Patrick Mahomes.
The comeback stuff with this guy, it's the numbers don't seem possible.
That's right.
In all of NFL history, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are now both 2-1 when trailing by double digits in the second half of Super Bowls. Every other quarterback ever is winless.
Don't call it a comeback.
Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT of Super Bowl comebacks?
I'll allow it, Shazier, but please don't forget about TB12 and 28-3 and Super Bowl 51 against the Falcons.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Also, we have to get to Rihanna's halftime show comeback. She even brought a friend with her, and Tiger's back at Riviera. So much to get to this week.
From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
And I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Patrick Mahomes put off his second comeback victory in the Super Bowl, but it's still not the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Ah, fan of history you are, Shazier. Yeah, that would belong to Tom Brady in a game so famous, we only need 3 digits for you to know what we're talking about. 28-3.
Well, let's get the true GOAT later, but let's talk a little bit about the baby GOAT.
Is that what we're going with? That's his new nickname, Baby Goat Mahomes. What did you think of KC? What big takeaway? People are buzzing about defensive holding, crummy turf, the coordinators from Philadelphia, but mainly we're celebrating the greatness of number 15.
To me, that game ended up being exactly what I wanted it to be. The game was a phenomenal game. Obviously, I lost $100 betting on the Eagles, and I know a lot of people lost a lot of money betting on the Eagles, but I was actually happy to see the Chiefs win. And the reason I say that is because it was just a good game. Patrick Mahomes, he proved everybody the reason he's Patrick Mahomes. Him and Andy Reid together, they just do a phenomenal job of just drawing up play calls that always put their team in the right position. They understand when to run the ball. They understand when to pass the ball. And the biggest thing when it comes to the NFL is if somebody does something to you and you don't fix it, they're going to do it again. And that's exactly what the Chiefs did to the Eagles. And the Eagles didn't fix it, and they got 2 touchdowns off of the same exact play, which is crazy. But at the end of the day, that's coaching, and that's discipline from the guys on the field, and the guys on the Eagles weren't as disciplined. But I know a lot of people are mad at the penalty. And one thing that Coach Tomlin told me, one thing my high school told me, my high school coach told me, one thing my college coach told me, don't ever put the game in the officials' hands. And when you're touching people, it's very easily for them to make a decision. And you don't want to lose a game off of somebody else's decision. The reason I feel that the Chiefs won this game is because of just, at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do. Andy Reid, throughout his career, he hasn't been the best clock manager. He understands how to manage the clock at the end of this game. And he's had a lot of games where he should have won it, but he didn't. He doesn't know how to just close the game out. They used that whole 4 minutes to close this game out. Patrick Mahomes, he understands how not to take a sack. He understands how to avoid pressure when he needs to avoid pressure. He understands the situation of the moment. He never, whenever you're watching him, he never feels rushed. He never looks rushed. He never seems uncomposed. He always seems like he's ready for the moment. And he never makes errant throws. To me, I think that they just did what they needed to do to win this game and not try to be the flashy Kansas City Chiefs. They understood what they needed to do, and I think that's why Patrick Mahomes wins all the time, because it's not about just me having the best numbers, but it's about just putting my team in position to win.
I think people tie themselves into knots and overcomplicate these things when it's a pretty straightforward line that you can look at, especially over the course of the 21st century. The teams with the best quarterbacks are always in play. That's not some fluke, why they're always involved in January. And you can marginalize the greatness of any player by saying he has a great coach and he has great weapons. Yes, Mahomes has Kelsey and he has Andy Reid. Those guys also have Patrick Mahomes. And I would say, and by the way, that's true of every dynastic, adjacent, or full-on dynasty that you could talk about. Yes, it's never one guy, but I do think that number 15 is more responsible for his first 2 Lombardi wins than just about any quarterback you can cite in history. Go with the GOAT, Tom Brady. His first one, when he wins as a sophomore, he takes over for Bledsoe. Of course, we know the story there. That was a defense-first team. Even the second one, they were still defense-heavy. Belichick in his heyday as a coordinator of defenses and all of that. I think Mahomes is carrying the day as much as any high-end quarterback has in history among QBs who've won as many as 2 titles. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you.
Interesting stuff there, 5-0. But of course, when you're talking about QBs, the yardstick is Tom Brady. Let's get back to his comeback, 28-3 against those Falcons. We're going to be talking with one of the guys who was out there with Brady during that comeback. Chris Hogan is coming up.
Hey, Shek, let's get into this Patriots Super Bowl comeback.
All right, let's do it. It's February 5th, 2017. The Patriots are about to play in Brady and Belichick's 7th Super Bowl as a duo. They're favored by a field goal against the Atlanta Falcons. But they're up against league MVP Matt Ryan and Atlanta's #1 offense. Early in the game, the Falcons' offense was red hot, and with 8 minutes left in the third quarter, they stunned us all when they took a 28-3 lead.
Here is Coleman, end zone, touchdown.
Shazier, watching the game at this point, did you think the Patriots had any shot at winning? And don't jive me.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I still thought they had a shot. I'm going to tell you later.
All right. We'll wait to hear that story. I don't know if I believe it right now. You learned what many others did that day, or maybe you already knew it. Never count out the GOAT, Tom Brady. With about 2 minutes to go in the third, the Pats cut the lead to 28-9.
Now they'll throw. Pass is caught. That's White. Touchdown.
Then the Patriots got the ball back, hit a field goal, recovered a fumble, and scored again.
Brady, end zone, touchdown. Amendola. A direct snap, and it's good. James White, 8-point game.
With 5:56 left on the clock, it was somehow a one-score game. But the Falcons still had a 93% chance to win, according to the odds. Well, sure enough, Brady got the ball back with 3:30 left on their own 9-yard line, down 8. What happened next is the stuff of legends.
Handoff, touchdown, James White.
After forcing the game into overtime, Tom Brady was, of course, inevitable. The Patriots won the coin toss, marched down the field, and punched in the game-winning touchdown, capping the score at 34-28.
Toss to White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl.
All right, here we go. For more on the greatest comeback in NFL history, we've got a piece of that comeback here with us. Patriots wide receiver Chris Hogan, who caught a huge first down on that comeback drive and is an all-time NFL comeback story of his own. He's here with us right now. What's happening, Chris Hogan?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
What's up, Chris?
Okay.
Man, I'm going to be completely honest. Before Dave get into these questions, I just want to let you know, as a competitor, I did not enjoy playing you because every time I play linebacker, and I'm not blaming my DBs or anything, but it just seemed like you were always open. So I just don't understand what was going on back there, but it was
Listen,
it was always fun.
The feeling's mutual. You were the one trying to take my head off while we were trying to run across the middle, man. There was no love when we were playing.
I watched that game from my couch, and Shazier couldn't take your head off, Hogan, because he was nowhere to be found on the screen. You were all by yourself. No black and gold guys within 15 yards of you in any direction. And it didn't please me any more than it. I guess so. Okay, before we get into 28-3, let's back up and talk about your own comeback story. You starred at lacrosse when you were at Penn State. You were out of football till you made a comeback at Monmouth. Then you made the NFL as a UFA signee in Buffalo. How'd you work your way back from Lax to the Pats?
So coming out of high school, it was like that big decision, lacrosse, football, trying to choose between two sports. And I went with lacrosse. I mean, I had a ton of different offers. Football, I had some offers, wasn't anything crazy. I decided to go with lacrosse. I had a lot of people pushing me that way, but it was like one of those things toward the end of my career at Penn State that I just had that feeling of I would have lived with this with regret if I didn't try to play college ball. So I pursued it. I got a chance to go to Monmouth. Really, I grew up an hour from the school, and a lot of kids that I played ball with in high school. And then after that, it was like another one of those things. I was like, well, I had a couple of friends that were going to try and compete for the combine and go to a pro day, and I didn't really feel like going to get a real job at the time. So I put all my eggs into that basket, trained for however many months, got a chance to compete at a pro day in Fordham. We were very fortunate enough for the head strength coach. He let us in, and I hit it out of the park. I mean, I had good numbers, and no one knew who I was. I mean, I was just this young kid who really hadn't played any college ball, but I did enough to get some looks, and I just ran with it from there. I mean, I had some bumps along the way, but finally got a shot in Buffalo, and just tried to make the most of it. And I just had to show out when I played the Pats too, because that was like a ideal place to wind up. We had to play against them twice a year, which was terrible in Buffalo, but played well enough to get noticed, so and ended up there.
No, you definitely got noticed. So before I get into this Super Bowl run, I want to ask you, you didn't try out at Penn State when you were there, since you was already there?
Nah, so they the lacrosse coaches were 100% against it. I was on scholarship there, and they didn't want me to go out. They told me I was too little to play. So I was 18 years old. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, all right, well, I party with these guys on the weekends. I feel like I'm as big as them. But I just it kind of just was one of those things that was always in the back of my head. I hated going to football games because I knew I could be out there playing. So I did more tailgating than playing. And then, my senior year, I had that extra year of eligibility because I got hurt my sophomore year, and I was on pace to graduate. So I graduated, and, and then just went a different direction.
I also did more tailgating than playing. So we have a lot in common, I guess.
I also played defense, Ryan, in college. I played corner in college. I didn't play receiver.
That's crazy. Yeah,
so they brought me to play. They brought me to play at receiver. I played receiver for the first couple games, and our corner was not playing well. My coach knew that I played corner in high school. He's like, "Yo, can you?" We just played straight man and covered 3 zones. So it wasn't like I had to do. It wasn't that much. It was just kind of lining up with these guys. And I played corner for most of the time there. I came in on like 3rd down and red zone.
Oh, that's crazy. Hey, so man, I want to talk about this Super Bowl run really fast. So one thing that many people don't remember for the year you guys won that Super Bowl, Tom Brady was suspended for 4 games for Deflategate.
Yep.
Like going into that season, what was your expectations of the team like that coming year?
Listen, you had to play against us. How Bill was. It didn't really matter who was playing quarterback. He had the expectation level was as high as if Tom was playing, and we had a lot of confidence in Jimmy. I think where it got a little crazy was like Jimmy got hurt second game in, and then we were Jacoby Brissett came in, and we're playing Houston on Monday night. Jacoby Brissett's starting that game with a broken finger, can barely throw. So we ran the ball like 40 times, but that was that team, man. That there was no everyone's expectations just remained the same. I mean, we all knew Tom was going to come back in 4 games, and everyone was dead set on winning those 4 games, and we won 3 out of the 4. We lost to Buffalo, but that was the train did not stop. And Bill had us going, and that team was special, man. 2016 was a special team.
I bet you this is the question you get asked the most, and it's probably unanswerable. But what is the secret sauce there? It sounds like such a New England Patriots Belichick thing to do. Yeah, get the lacrosse guy to come play football. Why does it work in New England to greater effect, at least, than in Buffalo, as a for instance? I've always said the biggest mistake you can make is going to and signing a free agent out of New England, because whatever magic they have going on there is not going to transfer to your team.
I mean, listen, the guys in that locker room are super talented. I think it's the work that the coaches, that Bill puts in, the preparation. I played on a bunch of different teams, especially towards the end of my career, and you just didn't see that level of preparation that I knew that the coaching staff and Bill and you were prepared for every single situation. It helps. I mean, listen, we had 12 as our quarterback for those years, and that's a game changer, man. I mean, he's seen everything. The guys in that locker room, they wanted to play harder for him. They didn't want to mess up. So like, your level of accountability and prep kind of went up because, you didn't want to be that guy that messed up and, Tom come after you or end up on the bad ball clip, on Mondays. You didn't want to be on that tape because there was never good film being showed on Mondays, no matter, even if we won, it was all bad ball. So you didn't want to end up on that. So, and I think it was just up and down the line, man. I mean, everyone was like, it didn't really matter who you were. If you were, I started in all 3 Super Bowls and played 4 phases on special teams. Like, that's kind of like the type of people that he brought in and the guys that are in that locker room. We just wanted to win football games.
That's awesome. Y'all definitely, and that's one thing y'all definitely did. Y'all definitely won football games. So I remember watching that game, and you guys were down 21-3 at halftime to the Falcons.
Yeah.
21-3.
Yeah.
And I remember everybody in my house was like, man, they was like, we're better change the game. Like, I'm tired of watching this. This is crazy. Like, they're getting their butt whooped. Like, this is a terrible game.
Yeah.
And I remember saying this I remember saying this to them. I was like, don't turn the channel. I've played against the Patriots and Tom Brady too many times to not think that this game is over. And it was just like, Ryan, they're down by 21 in the Super Bowl versus the Falcons, who were technically playing the best football out of anybody of the year.
Yep.
What was y'all mood in the locker room, and like, what was Bill Belichick saying to you guys?
So, I mean, the mood was we had literally just went out and played the worst 2 quarters of football that we had played all season long, right? Nothing went our way. Tom throws a pick 6. Defense, we're not like, we weren't doing anything right. Offense, we couldn't do anything. But I remember going into that locker room, man, and it's just like we knew what they were doing on defense. I'm talking about offense. Like, we knew what we were doing. We just had to execute. We just had to make some plays, and we had to, stuff had to go our way, and the ball had to bounce our way, and get a couple breaks here and there, which we did. But Bill didn't say anything. Like, the guys in the locker room, I remember going in there, it was quiet for a little bit, and then all of a sudden people started chirping, and they were like, it's going to be a hell of a comeback. And the energy and the whole mood just switched like that. And it was just like, we're going to go out. We're not going to get embarrassed on national television in the biggest game of our lives and not go out without a fight. And so when we came out in that halftime, it was like, bro, 0-0, like, game on. And we just went after these guys for the next 2 quarters. And we had a couple good plays and a couple things go our way. Defense made some huge plays, and they made some mistakes, and that's football, man. If they didn't make any mistakes, that game might have went a different way, but it did. And then once we tied it up and we won the coin toss, I knew it was a wrap.
I want to hear more about that locker room. But Shazier, you're sitting there and telling people, oh no, I know these Patriots. As a competitor, are you a little bit legitimately embarrassed that, hey, this team housed us the last time they played and they're getting whipped? What does that say about us? Is that something that a competitor at your guys' level that you feel that sort of like, what does this say about us if we got whipped by the team that's getting whipped now. Did you hope the Patriots came back to save face for you a little bit, 5-0?
No, I didn't. I wasn't hoping that they came back. I wanted them to lose. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Good. Yes.
I'm gonna just be completely honest with you. The thing is, just playing against them, you understand when you lose to certain people how well they're coached, how hard they play, how much of a competitor they are, how much they want to win. And whenever you played the Patriots, that's what you always felt when it was in the prime of that 20-year run. Whenever you played them, and I think that's the same type of stuff that people are feeling with the Chiefs right now. It doesn't matter where you're at in the game, you feel that no matter what, these people are going to fight back. It doesn't matter how ugly it looks. And that's how I felt during that game. I just was like, man, this team is they're coached way too well. This team, they have the greatest quarterback of all time, and they had a really bad game of football. They were still moving the ball. It wasn't like they weren't moving the ball. It just, they just weren't scoring. And I was just like, yo, something's going to turn around. And that's why the mindset that they had in the locker room. It's like, yo, we're not going to get embarrassed out here. And I think that's what kind of pushed me. I was like, they're too good to get embarrassed on TV.
I hear you. So Hogan, let's go to the halftime of this game. So Shazier's coping with his emotions of the Patriots and his disdain for them and so on. Well, listen, I park my car in the same garage as you. I don't like what the Patriots have done to my favorite football team any more than you do, Shazier. So you mentioned the pick 6 to Alford, I believe. Yep. And I remember watching him run down the sideline, and Tom Brady dove in vain at his feet to try and make the tackle. And I remember feeling viscerally in that moment like, that's it for the old man. This is the moment where it's all caught up with him. He's had a great career, but it has passed by him. You're going to lose to the Falcons now. You joined the team at a
Steelers fan.
Well, no, I mean, obviously I was proven wrong. He goes on to win 3 more Lombardis from that moment forward. So obviously I'm wrong. But you joined the Patriots at an interesting inflection point with Brady coming off of the suspension. Yeah. You mentioned wanting to win for him. What is what's his comportment like at that point? And then jump to that locker room. Is there a sense that everybody's doing it for 12? And what motivation do you pick up off of 12 himself after kind of helping put you guys behind the 8 ball with that pick 6?
I've been on the sideline with him so many times, and I've seen him get frustrated, and I've seen him kind of, whether he wasn't playing well or we weren't playing well, and you could feel that, right? You feel it from Tom Brady, the guy that like everyone looks up to in your locker room and on the sideline. You look for him like kind of as, like, okay, we're going to be okay. And sometimes like there were games when like that wasn't always the case. Like stuff just wasn't going. Like I never felt that in this game. And it was like, I'm telling you, we were going into the locker room at halftime, and I remember walking in with them, and I'm like, listen, bro, they're playing man coverage the entire game. Like, we can do this, right? We just needed to make some plays, and we need to make some big plays. Like, we needed some explosive plays. We weren't going to win that game if we were just going to dink and dunk and, try to run the ball and do all that. Like, and we came out, and that dude was, you want to talk about like eye of the tiger. There was, that he was locked in, and when you see him locked in like that, and you're down 20 points going into half, you're like, okay, like he's still in this. Like I'm still in this. No one faltered. They were just like, Jules is riding the bike, and he's like, "It's gonna be a hell of a comeback. It's gonna be a hell of a they're gonna write a movie, expletive about this, like yada yada, like whatever." And everyone fed off of that. Like, bro, we just played the worst 2 quarters of football that we've ever put together, made every mistake that we could. We're down 20 points. It's like, but, let's see what happens. Let's go out and play good football. Like the half times are longer. So a halftime right. Super Bowl is like, it feels like an eternity. So, usually you come into halftime, make your adjustments and you're right back on the field. But you got the halftime show, they got to break it down. So it's like 25 minutes long. And to go to like the whole prep thing, Bill prepped us for this. Like we go to practice, he'd bring us in the locker room for 30 minutes, and then we go back out and have another practice. And like, so we had all this time to kind of
That's crazy.
reflect on it, right?
He
Like,
familiarized you. You have to get familiar with the catalog of Lady Gaga, because that's what's going to be playing in the distance.
right.
Don't call it a comeback.
So, but you mentioned Belichick, and obviously famous for as you talk about his coaching. With that expanded time, is Belichick or anyone else on the coaching staff saying, "Hey, we have a few extra minutes here. Let's change this. Let's do this instead"?
Yeah, I mean, like, Josh, and like on the offensive side of things, like Josh is always coming up with different stuff for like McDaniels. But like honestly, man, like we loved our game plan. Like it really came down to like us just executing it. So like when we came in and they, we all huddle around like offense, defense, whatever it is, and we go to try to like talk about our adjustments. There really wasn't any adjustments. It was like, dude, just play better. Go out there and execute and make some plays and like see what happens. And the same thing was for the defensive side of things. I mean, I think they were, I think they were a little bit more, on themselves. They were, I would say that, I know we had to score points, but they kept them from scoring. So like that was they were the biggest part of this whole thing. Sacking Matt Ryan, taking him out of field goal range, like making some big plays and just getting us the ball back so we could score.
Hey, so first I want to ask you, when Julian caught the ball, did you
Caught it.
did you
100%. I was right there. Caught it.
So at that moment, you knew he caught the ball.
He was running a seam read up the middle. I had a slant on the backside. I literally was running across. I saw the whole thing. I knew he caught it. I wanted to line up and go.
Yeah, all right. I just want to know. All right, have you spoken to any Atlanta guys since that game, and is this the greatest comeback in NFL history?
I mean, I played against them. I've run into a couple of them. It's a touchy subject to bring up to an Atlanta player if they were on that team. But I mean, in a game like that in the Super Bowl, when like the ebb and flows of that game. I mean, when everyone's playing well and you're up by 20 points, like I couldn't even imagine what they were feeling going into halftime, beating us by 20 points. For us to come back, and it's got to be the greatest comeback in NFL history.
Because Matt Ryan has been on the wrong side of two of the biggest comebacks. So I'll just, that's why I wanted to ask.
Now, you mentioned it already. When you guys find out you win the toss, did you, in your head, sort of think like, that's it, we're going to win now?
100%.
I mean, I think everybody watching, I think every Falcon guy knew that. I'm sure you guys did too.
So, Chris, I want to ask you a real question and give me a real answer. I need a real answer from you.
All right.
James White had 20 points, 14 receptions. Do you feel like he should have been the MVP?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Because I was watching that game. I was like, there's no way James doesn't become the MVP of this game.
James White is hands down one of the best teammates I've ever played with and one of the most gifted football players I've ever played with. But, bro, that dude had the most insane game in a Super Bowl like that. I mean, listen, Tom deserves everything that he gets because he is the best football player I've ever been around. But, like, dude, James White made some freaking plays in that game that, we're not in that game unless has what do you have? 20 catches?
He had 14 catches. And he had a Super Bowl record of 20 points.
Yeah. I mean, he was like lights out that game, man. Like
ran in 2 touchdowns. So yeah, it was he really should have been the MVP, is right. But to the victor go the spoils, and to the quarterback usually goes the NFL or the Super Bowl MVP. But now Brady has retired. First of all, do you think he stays retired? And more importantly, what did you make of the underwear photo? Speak from the heart.
I have no comment on whether he retires or not because I already had my emotional goodbye, happy retirement last year. So
that was like you jumping up behind James White. Like, wait, we're taking it back. Wait, I already did that one. Yeah, I got you. I'm picking up what you're laying down.
It's cool to see Tom and you're in New England and you get like, Bill does all of this media coaching, and he really tries to keep everything really kind of, close to the vest, and, don't, it's talk about yourself, talk about the team. And if you have any other questions, relate to Bill. But, Tom's a funny guy, man. It was kind of cool to see him kind of branch out of, this, always talking about the Patriots kind of thing. And now he's doing his own thing. And I guess he's an underwear model now. I mean, God bless, bro. I mean, dude, whatever works for him, man.
Hey, Chris, I really appreciate you, man, but I want to get back on this. So you started off with lacrosse.
Yep.
And then you hung up your cleats in 2021 and went back to lacrosse.
Yeah.
And was a midfielder for the for the Cannons and the Whip Snakes. First of all,
Yep.
those are two crazy names, two crazy names. And then, so like, what made you go back to lacrosse?
So it's finishing my year with the Jets. I just come off 2 season-ending injuries. I busted my knee in Carolina, had a surgery. I came back. I played the last game. The Jets signed me. Had a high ankle sprain that knocked me out for like 8 weeks. And, that team was very young, and obviously we weren't very good. So, they went a different direction. They wanted the young kids to get some playing time towards the end of the year. And so I didn't even finish the year there. So to me, like my future in football, like it was kind of up in the air. And so I invested in this league a few years back when it started, and it was another one of those things. It's like, I could do this. I could go compete. I know I hadn't played lacrosse in 11 years or even picked up a stick, but like, let me try to go compete with these guys and see what I could do. So, my marketing team and everyone that supported me was awesome. I just went back to training. It wasn't much different other than I just had to pick up a stick. So I did that, and 10 years out of the game, and I made the Cannons roster through the couple-day training camp. I wasn't retired. I didn't retire from football, so like that was always like the door was open. The Saints obviously called that year, and I went back and played for them. But it was an opportunity for me to. I love the game of lacrosse. I don't know if you guys know anything about it, but it's an awesome sport. The PLL, they're doing such a great job. They're getting it on TV. They're getting people to watch it. I mean, you literally have the best lacrosse players in the world competing, every single weekend for however many weeks the season is. And like, when I got to see that and see the talent level of these guys, it was crazy. The game has changed, man. I mean, it's like, I went back and played defensive midi because I thought that would be like an easy transition for me, but I was so wrong. Like that first practice, my head was spinning. I mean, like those guys are just so talented, man. So it was a cool thing for me. Trying to be a 2-sport professional athlete. Kind of giving back to the sport that had really given me a lot, and it was an opportunity to to really try to bring some light to this league and to show people what this is all about, and the type of athlete that it takes to play lacrosse. Because I think that gets lost in translation a little bit with lacrosse players. There's kind of like this stigma behind like these guys really don't train, or they're not athletes. Like these dudes they might not be as big as the guys that you see on Sundays, but they're as gifted as and athletic as the guys that I played against. And it was cool. It was a lot of fun for me to go back and play a sport that I hadn't played in 10 years.
Listen, Dion and Bo and Brian Jordan, they did the 2-sport, but you really brought it back in a big way, the 2-sport athlete thing. I don't think anybody ever did football and lacrosse besides you.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, you know how they say with every sport, some sports are a little harder and some sports are a little bit more skill. What would you say, which one is harder and which one takes more skill?
That's tough. I mean, to be honest with you, I think football is harder. I think the degree of skill that it takes to play lacrosse at the highest level is you gotta be gifted, man. I mean, you gotta like like just like stick, your stick work and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just a different game when it comes to like when I was playing football, like my craft and everything that I did, like that was very specific. And I worked on that tirelessly, running routes, releases, all that kind of stuff. I mean, but I don't think we're watching, lacrosse. Like, I wasn't really watching as much game film and like studying a playbook and doing all this stuff. Cause like, you're out there on lacrosse and it's just so fast. So it's more of like, you're in sets. You don't have to remember an entire playbook. It's like, okay, we have 1 or 2 sets and we have different plays that we got off of that. So I think mentally it's more demanding, football. I think physically football is more demanding. The skill level, I probably would tip it to lacrosse, but I mean, to be honest with you, now training for both of them, to play at a professional level, I put just as much of work as lacrosse as I did football.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man.
It's excellent stuff. Fascinating conversation, man, from the NFL to the PLL, comebacks on both sides of things, and including the most famous comeback in NFL history. We appreciate all the time today, Chris Hogan.
Yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. You're a lot cooler than I thought you were.
All right, Shazier, it's time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Check Down. Sure, you heard Rihanna is back. She put on a great halftime show in her return to performing, and it turns out she did it while pregnant. Shazier, you're a dad. Was this an all-time clutch parenting performance by Riri?
Man, I'm not going to lie. This was a pretty awesome performance by her. And to be 150 feet above the field, pregnant on that platform, I felt nervous for her up there, but I thought it was a phenomenal performance. And then that's an amazing way to reveal that you're having a child is at the halftime. They said there was more people watching her halftime show than they were actually watching the Super Bowl. So to me, I think that was actually a pretty clutch moment from a mother and from, Riri. Everybody loves her.
I'm going to stay with Prince as my all-time number one halftime show, but I think that's probably top 5 or 6. I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to meditate on it during the offseason, and I'll get back to you in September. Ben Stiller brought back Derek Zoolander in a Pepsi ad in the Super Bowl. Ryan, which comedic actor would be the most popular in NFL locker rooms?
I would say right now for sure is definitely Kevin Hart. Because, think about it. Kevin Hart is probably one of the funniest guys in the planet right now. And then he's just one of the most popular guys. And, he's a huge NFL fan. He's a huge Eagles fan. And if the Eagles won, we would have probably seen another funny video of him trying to get on stage. So I think a lot of guys just love Kevin Hart right now. And a lot of us just watch what he has going on. So I know when he comes to Pittsburgh, I go to his shows. And then when he has a movie out, I definitely check it out as soon as I can. So I would say right now, he has to be the most popular guy in the NFL locker rooms.
A lot of funny guys doing sports shows. Sam Morrill comes to mind for me. I don't know if he would resonate with the entire locker room, but a funny guy talking about Giants football out there. Give him a listen sometime. Hey, Tiger Woods is back almost exactly 2 years after his near-fatal car crash. Tiger's going to play in the Genesis Invitational here in L.A. at the course where he made his PGA debut in '92. 5-0. Tiger says he'll never play a full schedule again, but what will it mean to see him back competing for a win on Sunday?
Man, it's always awesome to see Tiger golf because he's just one of those guys that everybody looked up to, especially as an African-American male. It's just, you looked up to him, the greatness that he had throughout his career, all the championships he's had. And just to hear that in '92 was the year that he had his debut, that was the year that I was born. So it would just mean so much to me to be able to see him play again.
All right, now you're bumming me out, Shazier. You were born in 1992. You're that much younger than Tiger Woods. Egads. All right, that's it. I'm calling the rest of the show off. That's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
Make sure to follow, rate, and review the show on wherever you're listening. And check us out on YouTube on the Wondery channel. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you all next week.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.